Let me go to this slide. Okay, welcome everyone to our April monthly meeting, the joint meeting of the Alive Members Group and the Consultants Network Group from Central Texas. Consultants Network is a group where we promote the development of members, careers, professional and social networking, including events like this one. And we are, with potential professional opportunities, and this support the I3 Central Texas section. We have a web link shown on the bottom there. The Alive Members Group is a group where IEEE members automatically become live members when they satisfy this little formula. You have to be age 65 and the years of IEEE membership will be equal or greater than 100. So a number of people in this room probably qualifies, plus people online and wherever. So since probably COVID, we've been having joint meetings between live members and consultants network. We used to have separate meetings, but it's a little more difficult to get speakers and of course due to the virtual nature of meetings. Now we are going back into hybrid meetings and live meetings. So perhaps in the future we might have more presentations. And the link is also shown in the bottom here. We do need your help in future meetings. The kind of topics we cover is very broad: 5G, 6G, IoT, AI, smart city. And since we have live members, we are also interested in finance, hobbies, travel, and so forth. And certainly, many of you with years of experience, we would be very interested to hear your story. Show each of you have an interesting story to tell, your career, your experience, and so forth. And we also do probably one tour a year or more. And I have one coming up. This is the list of the officers in the two groups. So I won't dwell on that. Future events. So in a couple of weeks, the first event in May 8th is we have a STEAM day at the Warhal Museum. This is where grade school, I think maybe middle school students will come and we set up different tables and show them experiments, get them interested in STEM, of course, joining in the scientific and engineering world. And there's a link. Each of this event has a link. So you can sign up to be a volunteer or just come. May 12th, we have the UT Robotics Lab Tour. It is in the morning, I think between 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. And we are organizing because it's difficult to park at UT, so there will be some carpool. We will be parking, or some of us will be parking at the North Lamar Central Market and then just carpool to UT. So again, that's the link there. Please do sign up and come if interested. In second week of June, we have the second IEEE Live Member Conference, NUR Live Member Conference. Last year we had it here in Austin. This year it will be in Boston at Tufts University. So you can again go to that link to get more information. All of these links should be on the two respective websites, so you don't have to copy down, but you can if you like. Okay, so we'll go to tonight's meeting. We have a very interesting topic here by Professor Eli Cox. It's entitled Andy Warhol Was Right About Fame. Professor Cox retired in 2016 from the University of Texas. He's taught there for many years, served as department chairman between those years. Of course, he published many marketing papers in various journals. And this one here is also very interesting. He served as a product warnings expert in many lawsuits and consulted for many of these, Fortune 500 companies. He received a DBA from Indiana University. So finally, a little bit of housekeeping. Please mute your audio and turn off your video due to bandwidth. Please use an identifiable username. And you can use the chat box to ask questions, and the speaker will answer later. And later, at the end of the program, you can turn on both the audio and the video to ask questions during the Q&A. Or maybe Dr. Cox might entertain questions in the middle too. It's up to him. Okay, I'm done. Goodbye to the other two voices in my head too.
On a barf bag. Wow, great touch. Dear Dramamine, hello, my name is Bruce Kelly. I'm writing you on behalf of the barf bag community.
Have you ever used a barf bag before?
Never did. I use the ground.
The ground?
That's it. Just throw it up. That's it. You gotta blow in it first.
Yeah, they'll just like lay here and just kind of.
With jalapeno linguine. But it just comes out and it sprays all over Felipe. It's just this queasy, uneasy, awful.
You good? Yep.
Came through my nose. Like, there's got to be a special term for that.
That's called nasal pharyngeal reflux. Nausea is the unpleasant sensation of being about to vomit. Vomiting is the forceful expulsion of gastric contents.
Upchuck, throw up, hurl, puke, spew, blowing chunks, blowing bits, chunky bits.
If your tummy hurts, you force the contents up your esophagus, out your mouth.
This is the current bag from KLM, Dutch Airlines. It's a Dutch house. LAN Chile, Iberia, a lot Polish airline. Oh, every bag you see here is a different airline.
Wow.
So these are the bags. They're all alphabetized. They're all in binders. I could go into any one of these and flip through them and show you ones that I think I like. Apparently you throw up and then disappear. There it is, Canadian. Kind of humorous. See a reindeer throwing up. This is one of the bags that any collector would love to have. The reindeer logo barfing ice cubes. Yeah, barf bags come in a lot of different things. Here's Cannibal Girls vomit bag. Cannibal Girls again. They brought out two types. And a third one. Some of these are old friends. I haven't seen them for a while.
There's a professor who is an expert in Middle Ages Latin at UT. And I said, what is a dignified name for airsick bags? And he came up with the term nauseavat. I think that's what they should be called. And I'm a nauseavatologist. This is not a barf bag. It's a nauseavat.
The man who invented the barf bag as we know it today was, you could say he was a scientist. His name was Gilmore Sheldon. When I say you could say he's a scientist, he was totally self-taught.
He got 16 patents for his work in thermoplastics and resins and polymers, but never graduated high school, let alone college. And the reality was that, you know, in those days, in the late 40s, you were going to get a very bumpy, smelly, gassy, oily ride. There's a lot of turbulence, a lot of people got sick, and obviously he saw a need.
This is the very first graduating class when the airline started. We had the graduation on the Queen Mary, which is really cool. One time I was walking to the back of the plane, it was super turbulent, and somebody was trying to get to the bathroom to throw up, and they actually barfed, and it went into my shoes. And I'm walking to the back of the plane, I'm literally sloshing. My feet are coming out of the shoes going, slosh.
Part of my collection is to collect something that no one else collects. That's number one. Number two is I like collecting things that when they are made, they are not intended to be collected. They are, I mean, I think in this world, there's a lot of what I call phony collectibles, things that are made to be they're limited edition, this or that. And there can't be a more pedestrian fixture than an air sickness bag, because they are definitely made to be thrown away.
It's got the right level of absurdity. They're easy to collect because they're flat. And, you know, some people, it's interest. Some people like you guys, I don't believe it, but you find it interesting. So it's great.
Is there a holy grail barf bag in the collector world?
I will get it for you. So you see a picture of a spaceman on there? That is from the space shuttle.
Have you taken it out of
I have never taken it out of there. I'm a little
yeah, I don't want to ask.
I might do it if I so you see it's got the spaceman and the raspberry drizzle and the part number and all that official NASA stuff. And look at that. I'm a little afraid to take this out any more than that.
Cool.
But
Thank you.
well, thank you for urging me to do that, because I've wanted to do that for a while, but just never had the actually, you know, I don't think about it day to day. But
Well, it has not been a good pickup line, put it that way. It's people look at me sort of, would you say that again? When you use it, you look down at the beautiful painting. In contrast, most air sick bags are like this. So when you use them, the picture is upside down.
It actually started after we were together and we were traveling. And he tells a story of how he was bored on the airplane and he started looking at the reading material and there wasn't that much in the pocket, but he was intrigued with the barf bags and he thought, nobody collects these. I think I should.
Well, hello. Well, once you start a collection, it's hard to give it up. You know, it's there. You look at a bag and you don't have it, and you think, well, I can't let this one slip through my fingers. So these are all my collection, all these binders, and just open one up. They're all in individual sleeves. Right now, I've got about 7,500 different ones from about 1,000 different airlines. The older bags, you can't even find them anymore. Nobody saved them. Very difficult to find them.
What are you printing?
A graph that's charting the growth we've seen in Dramamine sales and the inverse relationships of barf bags. So I've never actually seen it laid out like this, but the connection can't be clearer.
Do you think it's actually killing off the barf bag?
I'm measured on numbers. I'd be pretty excited because that means we're growing. And, you know, we're doing well and I'm doing something right. It's been great. I mean, great growth. We've been growing our product line and launching a lot of new products to help people. So it's been amazing.
When we go to the stores and we see all of the product that we produce here and then to see how it helps a lot of people with the nausea, it feels great to say like, oh my God, this is what we make. You see the hard work of everybody, how it pays off when you actually see it in the store. So it's pretty cool.
what's really moved the needle in the fight against motion sickness has been innovation, new forms, new ingredients that fit in the nauseous space, and then dressing it up, trying to make it taste good and deliver something that consumers want.
Hello, my name is Bruce Kelly, and I've been collecting barf bags for many years. I'm writing you on behalf of the barf bag community. We've noticed for a while that quality barf bags are getting harder to find. People rarely use them anymore, and they certainly don't appreciate them. Your product works well, but we wonder if it maybe works a little too well. If people aren't barfing, they aren't using barf bags. I recently read that 2024 is the 75th anniversary of Dramamine. You might be surprised to know that another great American invention turned 75 this year, the barf bag. Maybe this isn't a coincidence. Maybe their two fates are intertwined. To us, it's always been more than just a barf bag. Like Dramamine, it's a monument to American ingenuity and problem solving. And it's been a wonderful way to meet lifelong friends. Reach out anytime if you'd like to chat. Sincerely, Bruce Kelly, Barf Bag Collector. Wow.
How would you respond to the statement, Dramamine is killing the barf bag?
Man, Dramamine sucks.
If they died, they should die with dignity rather than disregarded or joked about.
It seems to me Dramamine is killing the barf bags. If you could save them, would you?
Not for barfing, because like I said, I'm kind of anti-barf. But yeah, I think there's so many ways to use the bag that don't have to have someone getting sick, and I think that'd be fun, and it also keep the history alive.
Let me turn up the volume.
Okay. You were saying that you were planning to move. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, I'm 82, and we're in a house that requires a lot of tending, and so do we. So we're going to a retirement community.
What are you planning to do with your collection?
I'm interested in disposing of it because we just don't have room.
Well, we definitely have an idea, and we'd love to acquire your collection and have it here at the Dramamine headquarters for people to be able to view it and enjoy it. And of course, you're welcome to come and see it whenever you want. But yeah, we'd like to offer to acquire it.
That's wonderful. I think we'll both be better off.
No, I think it's going to be great. And it's going to give more people an opportunity to view your collection.
Yes. Have you heard the term nauseaback?
It's a friend.
I, let's just skip the slides. I have a slide presentation on.
Where are we? Where's the presentation? It is. I just got here literally with the finishing touch. You were meant to send it on Friday.
Just share the presentation.
I am about to share it. Oh, yeah. Check this out. It's ginormous. That's like the 100th floor. Guys, this is a game changer, okay? We're gonna crush this meeting. So don't be late, and Dave, don't wear cargo shorts. I'm trying to. Guys, I gotta go. My Mac. The presentation.
Can you just, oh, there, that's great. Good. All right. I have to defend myself now, don't I? How should I begin? This is a 1 in a million thing that maybe more are more infrequent because the improbability of it is staggering. But I started collecting stamps in the 1950s and developed a massive collection of not particularly valuable stamps. I was working on my doctorate at Indiana, and there was a man who was teaching international business, and he set up Procter & Gamble operations all over Europe after World War II. And he was bragging to me about having made the most expensive purchase of a stamp in history at that time. And he said there are philatelists like him, connoisseurs with taste and money. There are collectors who have taste and no money. And there are accumulators who have neither taste nor money. And that was me. I was quite offended by that. Not long after that, I was in Monaco, and I visited the palace of Prince Rainier and Grace Kelly. And in the wall was a little window that looked like Harry Winston's or Tiffany's or something in New York. But rather than a solitaire on it, there was a single postage stamp. And I said, I will never have a world-class postage stamp collection because that professor and the prince and Franklin Roosevelt collected stamps. I'd never do that. So what could I collect that I could be world-class at? And 50 years later, I can look back and say I was successful. That gives me a feeling of accomplishment. So at any rate, it was just a gag, and it continued all those years. And I had lots of students over to my house for supper, and when it was time for them to leave, I'd break out my airsick bag collection, show it to them, and say, would anyone like a starter kit? And no one ever took me up. I can't imagine why. And over the years, I've had all sorts of people, colleagues and former students and relatives give me airsick bags from all over the country. I had one that was autographed by the Chargé d'Affaires U.S. in Indonesia, and he signed it. And I had one signed in 1988 by my high school English teacher and two of my classmates, where they went to Las Vegas and broke it open. And so there were 3 pages to write notes on it, and lots of other great collections. By the way, 2 of the 3 of them are deceased. In my waning years at UT, I again would have students over for supper and show them my airsick bag. And a student of mine gave me an airsick bag, and I didn't think about it very much. It was of Edinburgh and had a very nice picture on it. I didn't think of it very much at the time, but when I was getting all my collection organized to try to sell, I ran across it and looked carefully for the first time and found that she had autographed it. She took a blank and drew a beautiful picture on it. And so I tracked her down, and we enjoyed her contribution to the joke. And she said, "Oh, by the way, I'm a writer for Texas Monthly, and I have another writer who does specializes in stories about people with unusual collections." Now, I didn't know what that had to do with me, but I said I'd be happy to talk to her. And I was interviewed, and there was an article. You can Google it, but there's an article. In fact, you Google it, Eli Cox Barf bag. And at one time, there were hits all over the world, but there's still some up and about you can see. At any rate, so she did a story on me, and it was published online. And perhaps a year later, I got a call from some mysterious group wanting to see if they could hire me. And I thought it was a scam, but I got up a little courage to pursue the conversation. And I should say, this was when we were moving. And if you remember the story of Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole, that's what we did for about 18 months. Over that course of time, we downsized, emptied the house and sold it, had our apartment fixed up, and moved in at Westminster Manor. My wife had 2 surgeries. I had 1. All this stuff was going on. But I said, what do I have to lose? So at any rate, I talked to them, and they said I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. The cat's out, so I can tell you this. But at any rate, they wanted to interview me, and it turned out I was one of 4 people that were interviewed. And so they sent in they had a camera team, one from LA, one from Las Vegas, a sound team from Austin. They had people coming from New York and Chicago, administrators, so they could write off a trip to Austin on this against Dramamine. And so our house was in disarray. They wanted to film it in the house. And so I said they couldn't. So they rented a house in Giddings. And so I went there, and they had a limousine pick me up and take me back home. And I was interviewed probably 4 hours, and you saw how much of the tape made it. And I'm sure they did with all the other guys. So that went well, and then that produced the documentary you saw. And then the Dramamine wanted to do a big publicity event in New York City. And they asked if I would come be docent for a pop-up museum. They rented a storefront in the Upper West Side, and it was a Dramamine display. And CNN had a big article on this. In fact, my brother-in-law found out about it by seeing CNN in the morning. But you'll see a picture of the pop-up and so forth. And I fictionalized airsick bags, and I wrote a history of them. And I showed one of the drawings was a picture of one of the first airsick bags that was on the wall of a pyramid in Egypt. And I talked about great historic collections over time. And also, to play my role as Dramamine, I fictionalized myself as Indiana Jones. So I wore my crocodile cowboy boots and jeans and this hat to New York City. Yes, turned properly, and hammed it up. And so it was lots of fun. And they incidentally, they entered the film in the film Cannes Film Festival, and I never knew they had awards for advertising agencies. I thought it was movies, the legitimate theater, but they do, and they won a number of awards, including a Lion Award. And they calculate the probability. You know, there are millions or thousands of submissions every year. They said the chance of their winning that award was 1 in 1,000. And so sadly, all of them got little miniature. None of the people that did the work got to go to Cannes, but it was full of the top executives writing it off. And so, but that was all because of a gag. I got paid for the interview in Austin, $2,000, and they had gone over budget, so they could only give me $1,000 to go to New York City. They paid all my expenses, including the hotel there, and I got $1,500 for the airsick bag, and no one, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, nobody you can name had a better return on investment than I did, because the denominator was zero. So at least my part of the woods, that's infinite, and nobody has done that, I think, because he said these are they're not commercial, they're not bought for that. But as it so happens, there is a big aftermarket for it, and it's out of fashion now, but it's been a big market, and some of them have gone for very high prices, some of the very early rare ones. And so at any rate, that's been fun. But people collect everything. And when we moved out of our house, I have a habit of collecting stickers. I collect all sorts of weird things, and not so weird, but I collect ticket stubs. And I had a stubs from Muhammad Ali and Mike Sphinx in Houston, and performances on Broadway and so forth. I had hundreds of them, but somebody in our estate sale bought them all up. And remember boarding passes? You can buy books in which you can store them like you could store postage stamps. So people collect that. So it's no accounting for what odd things people collect. So again, all of this happened without another metaphor, I was going down a river in a kayak and hanging on, but having no control over my fate. So it was had a light touch to it. And I have a bunch of airsick bags in the slides you unfortunately won't be able to see, but there's some very nice ones, including the one the student gave me. I kept a few that I didn't include in the collection, but it was fun. The biggest one I collected, in fact, the very first one that I can date, was I was given a first class round trip to Paris, and I could date that trip, and I had a first class Air France airsick bag, and I could have had pressed duck in it. It was so big. And I had one from Rwanda airline in Indonesia that might have held a couple potato chips in there or something, a tiny little thing. And so it was fun. And when the people would interview me, and I was interviewed many times, both there and afterwards. Often they were interested in the history of the airsick bags as a device, which might appeal to you guys. But to me, it was much more interesting as a cultural manifestations. And for example, there was one from Jamaican airline that had very bright, high contrast colors. And you would never see that in Scandinavia, but you wouldn't see a upchucking uh, what do they call them? What are they? It's the deer that reindeers essentially. You would not see anything like that in Jamaica. So that was a lot of fun. My collection was very small compared to the other three. There were about 180, but I like to think myself, there's a Uffizi Art Museum in Florence, and I can said that was my collection, and those big ones are like the Louvre and other places where you could get lost in and never be found. So at any rate, I've given two presentations at Westminster on it, and my Andy Warhal said everyone has 15 minutes of fame. My 15 minutes have expired, but I am good riddance, I must say. At any rate, here I am, and Lee Prentice, no, what's Lee's last name? He came and spoke about the economics in February.
Price,
yeah, Price.
Yeah.
He spoke here, and he recently gave that presentation at Westminster where I live, and it was an excellent presentation, and I thought that mine was a perfect compliment for it because he had a few jokes at the front, and all the rest was serious. And I'm not sure what I had at the front, but none of what you've heard. And if you didn't learn anything tonight from me, it's your own fault.
That's the professor speak.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, so, and anyone want to buy a hat? I'm glad I kept it. And my wife is of Scandinavian origin and about as straight laced as she could be. And there's a whole medley of emotions she has towards me, but she would rather have open heart surgery than do all of the stuff that I've done. There's my favorite Norwegian joke is the Norwegian man was so mad at his wife he nearly told her. So they express their anger in passive aggression, not well. And by the way, post hoc ergo propter hoc, is that do you remember that expression? That causation doesn't prove causality, necessary but not sufficient. I don't think it has anything with Dramamine. The airlines lost it was a cost-saving device, yeah, and they didn't want to waste money, and so it's all generic. And I think it's a big mistake because that's a great place to have free advertising. And many of the airsick bags had actual advertisements for film developing and all sorts of things. And you put a crossword puzzle on one side or something on one side and something else on the other. So I was trying to get some interest in its rejuvenation, but the airlines don't listen to me. But you did, so yes, sir.
Eli, even though the advertisement is by Dramamine saying they're taking credit for the demise of the airsick bag, I'm wondering if it's actually an equal, if not a larger share, the size of the airplanes, because the larger airplane doesn't bounce as bad.
You bet. You bet.
The automatic controls.
Yes. Oh, I'm certain of that. And it used to be, this quality is gone, except for a press. They were more spacious. They used to be like a Greyhound bus where you could kind of stretch out, but now it's
like a school bus
or a Concorde. I had a very wealthy friend who took the QE2 from Paris to New York and took a Concorde back. Oh. And but he said they were just tiny. He flew always in first class. He paid for my ticket to France, but the tiny little seats. But it's just money grubbing, I think. Anyway. So there you are. Yes, sir.
Did anyone ever send you a used one?
No, well, not in the sense you mean. And in stamps and coins, I had a coin collection too. It would call them either uncirculated or mint.
Yeah.
And so, but no, I had people use them as envelopes and as packages for gifts and things like that. A lot of people did that, but fortunately not. They were well, yeah, and especially if they were by students, I had them, so they couldn't tangle with me. So anyway, so thank you for your attention, and just I guarantee you this. In these meetings, you'll never hear another one like this. I don't think. So,
Well, I would like to just
yeah.
injection. Is there airline was built better now than before?
You bet.
They're not
rock
back and forth before, right?
Yes, exactly.
You know, and you kind of rock.
Yeah, you bet.
Forwards.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, the machines are built better. You also have more technology now
Yeah.
where you can see where your turbulence is happening.
Yes,
and
very
you're
good.
avoiding it.
You
You're
bet.
avoiding the weather.
You
In
bet.
early days, you didn't have that technology. That's what-
And another factor is the size of the plane gives a bigger space over the center of gravity. Because I went out with again, the wealthy friend I mentioned, looking at real estate decades ago in a little two-seater. And I somehow got the short straw and sat behind the two seats. So I was off the center of gravity. I nearly threw up on it, but luckily I didn't. So I think there are a lot of factors. Exactly right. But and they were very nice. They never were derogatory or disrespectful. It was just a sort of a celebration that they enjoyed. And I think they were all astonished. And that advertising agencies, nothing is nastier than it that I know of. And because the advertising agency that won all of these awards just a few weeks before had lost the Pfizer account, and they fired something like 500 people.
Wow.
And that's just a quick decision like that. And the Pfizer sale wasn't doing very well. And whether it had anything to do with the advertising agency or not, who knows? But it probably saved some vice president's job from canning them. Here we are.
On my trip to the Soviet Union was 1990. We flew Air France to Moscow, and then flew out of Moscow Sheremetyevo Airport up to Leningrad. And the stewardess was happily telling us in Russian, "Bayom, bayom," and nobody understood it, so my wife was translating. And she asked her if she spoke Russian. Well, my wife is from Leningrad.
Oh, wow.
So I appreciate some of what you're saying about that silent treatment, but so when it came to the pre-flight announcement, stewardess asked her if she would translate. And the wife asked her real quickly, "Jimmy, what is so many degrees in Fahrenheit?" So did a calculation,
Yeah.
gave it to her, and she would let the stewardess speak, and then she would repeat, and she finished with, "And Captain, wish us good luck." And she came to
That's great.
Why everybody?
I was on a friend on Southwest Airlines once when the pilot said, "Today I'm going to try something different." Yeah.
Boy.
All righty.
All right. So any questions from the audience?
I got a question.
Okay,
Yeah, go
good.
ahead.
And Dr. Cox, I'm heading down to Antarctica, and it's a bad piece of the ocean. So I've researched getting sick, and What's your opinion that's gotten vogue in the astronaut corps on acupuncture?
That's above my pay grade.
Okay.
I have no idea.
What surprised me about it, it's commercially available.
Oh,
You can, it's called C-band, SEABAND.
oh yes, of course. That's pressure puncture, not needle. Yeah, that's
acupressure.
Yeah, my wife has motion sickness even in a car sometimes, and so she uses those. Yeah, I think that
they seem to work.
Yeah, and I was in Peru, and they gave you coca leaves. You can't get those in the States, but nothing like a little high to make it. You may be motion sick, but you don't mind so much.
Yeah, my backup plan is the open bar.
Oh, good. And if you were thinking about getting a bag for me, don't bother. I don't collect them anymore.
Yeah. Ginger juice will also help you.
Ginger?
Ginger juice.
Interesting. That's good to know.
Ginger ale or ginger juice?
Ginger juice. You know, you
chewing gum.
Cubes of ginger.
Okay.
Cubes of ginger. Okay.
Yeah,
Ginger candy.
that's good.
Well, I'm going to press my luck. Group dynamics and getting sick. I've noticed that in an airplane, when somebody gets sick, it kind of spreads.
Yes, it does. It sure does. And part of it, they're having the same experiences, but hearing that sound is not encouraging. I flew over Angel Falls and in a small, maybe, I don't know, 20-seater. And I think I and the pilot were the only ones that didn't get sick. And my explanation was I had a camera right at a window and I wasn't paying any attention to anything else, and I didn't get dirty either, I must say. But that's the problem. Well, have a good trip.
Right, any other questions?
Your last chance.
Yeah. If not, this will be recorded and also I'll send out the YouTube link to you. To all of you.
What? No. Okay. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right.
Sure.
That I can take it.
Yeah. So
Sir, I have a question.
Sure.
So does anybody did any study on this sense diversion for this motion sickness?
They should. I agree.
Do you know anything close study?
No, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And my wife likes to in fact insists on sitting in the front seat so she can stare down the road rather than because the angles are very tight. Yeah, you're right. Somebody
My wife was like that. She was in the front seat, either driving or passenger.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there was a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
She can be in the back seat and still drive.
Well, maybe. Try.
Most of her, she didn't get sick I won't say most her, some, she could not ride on a bus.
Yes.
There's one that passed, unless she was sitting right up in the
Yeah.
front seat.
Yeah.
Like just in the back, and it's moving and not being able to fix on it would upset her. So, sometimes even the passenger car, no, you front seat.
Yeah.
I got the same example 20 years back when we were traveling on a hill on a bus, local bus, and it was there were so many turns, round turns, U-turns, and whatever, and going up. The bus is going up with the turns. Okay, and one thing is it was jungle, kind of jungle. It's okay, and people are trying to go and visit the god. Actually, they are going to the god, one of the temple in India. Okay, on top of the hill.
Wow.
Okay, third time, people are selling in the bus station. People were selling, like Sir said, the ginger chews,
Oh, very
chocolates.
good.
Okay, those are the lemon chocolates.
Oh.
And one of my friend, now he's a criminal lawyer in India, and that time he was a student, and he okay. So if you have any that kind of motion sickness, okay, take that chocolate and chew it.
Hmm.
Okay, I asked him, I know it. I knew why exactly they're selling it.
Mhm.
So he asked me, okay, take it and it will be done. And I took it, and you know why it is happening. And he said that, okay, he doesn't know, but I explained him at that time why it causes the motion sickness will be gone aside.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
So
what-
because
and
the
what was-
sense is it is clearly, pinching your sense. That means once you keep
I
the
see.
chocolate on the tongue,
Oh, very good.
with that, with that acidity,
Yes.
the strong acidic taste will stimulate your tongue,
Very
and that
good.
stimulate your sense,
Yeah.
and your sense will be forcibly diverted.
Yeah. Single malt would work.
Forcibly diverted, even if you sit side, friend, whatever,
Yeah.
So it is not, because
Yeah.
everything happens here, right?
Yeah.
So it is stimulating that one
Very good.
forcibly.
But there's
So-
also placebo effect
So,
where they give you a sugar pill that they tell you it'll make your headache go away, and it goes. Because just thinking it, and I remember seeing an ad for Rogaine, the hair restorative drug, and they had three groups. One nothing, two placebo sugar pill, and three the hair restorative. And even the people that got the placebo, their head grew more than those that didn't. So just thinking that your hair grow back can help. In varying degrees of success. No, well, but
Virtual reality lab. When you
That-
have that and you're watching,
That's cool.
you're looking at something really fixed.
That's clever.
locking some object.
Yeah.
So your mind is totally occupied and you're not looking outside where you're seeing all the turns and twists.
Yeah. We were in Disney in some theater, and the chairs were moving. Yeah, so we're pretty sensitive. Conditioned.
If you are busy, keep yourself very busy.
Yes.
Your attention is somewhere else, that you don't get airsick. I once flew a light airplane, got into turbulence, very severe turbulence. It's going up and down.
Mm.
3 people in the plane got sick, but I was just fighting the turbulence. I didn't get sick.
Good.
Yeah.
My thing about the airplane, when rough weather started going like this, and I had a cup of coffee in my hand, oh, I'm going to sleep. And I'm sleeping like this. I don't know why, because when it upset everybody else, I was going to sleep.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's great.
Actually, sleep is the best way to avoid it.
The what?
Sleep is the best way to avoid it.
Oh, yes, except I didn't want to drop the coffee.
But if you close your eyes, you're not seeing anything.
And we were in a boat once. We went to Galapagos, and it was a very small boat. It wasn't a ship at all. And people were being thrown out of their beds.
That's wrong. I'm going to the ocean.
Right. Good. Interesting how we get on topics like this. What did you talk about at IEEE last night? Well, we talked about treatment of vomiting. It was, how does that fit into to electrical engineering? Well,
It was shocking.
very good. My one engineering joke is not electrical, so I can tell it. And that the engineer in building a bridge calculated everything to 4 decimal places and added 20%. You probably heard that.
And I worked for TxDOT for a number of years, and I was at one point in open channel hydraulics. And we would get calculations of what is the runoff. Now, we kind of guess what the rainfall will be. We approximate that. We approximate what the drainage area is going to be. And if each one of us does, it's going to be a little bit different, but
Yep.
probably the most reproducible thing is approximating the drainage area. Then the slope, the soils, the vegetation, and then, you know, you really get wild on your estimations. So they would come up with something like 325,465.687 cubic feet per second.
Yeah.
And my boss would say, 325,000. You think that's low, make it 326. Three significant figures only, because
Yep.
everything's such approximation. Well, what about the decimal places? Are you?
But one reason is it convinces an audience if they don't know about statistics. So if somebody says unemployment rate is about 3%, you know, you're not credible, but it's 2.987, then whoa, that guy's got his act together. Anyway.
We designed, one of the guys in my office designed the inlets on a little bridge in South Texas over the Gulf Intercoastal Waterway. And it's just a little FM road bridge, 2 lanes up over so the boat can go under it. And Dean, who's a perfection engineer, bridge engineer, came over to get some plans from DC. And he said, he wasn't in that day, but my boss said, oh, I know what you're looking for. And Dean looked at the plan, okay, what, the drain limit spacing, something like 60 feet? Yeah. Well, is that kind of far? And Amy said, double and put them 30 feet. Calculations or something? She said, no, you don't like that, put it closer together. Dean was not happy.
No, bless his heart. Yeah, well,
Dean's also the guy that when we were building his house, he's got a fixed ceiling, typical house. It's a little bit different house than a bunch. You get drywall ceiling and a floor, but we're running, since I'm an electrician, he had me helping him with that. And I took off, was going up to Shreveport, I think, to visit my mom for that weekend and something like that. And I said, well, you can take care of this while I'm gone. Here's the conductors. I need 4 of them going down that end. I'll do the hookup here, but you just get them run down to the joist. I got back 3 days later, and by the way, he's only half done. And I said, why? Well, I had to straighten the Romex out because, you know, it had twisted. Why? Well, it wouldn't look good. It's above a fixed ceiling and under the floor.
crazy. Is Dean with a capital D, or is it a name or a position?
Dean Van Landen.
Okay, good. I thought you meant college Dean.
No, he's a,
okay, good. That's good.
he's a good old boy, retired bridge engineer. They kept wanting to promote him to supervisor, and he didn't want to be. He only wanted to be a bridge designer.
I just, at Westminster, we have a chair exercise group, and every day there are jokes told. And the last week I told some fact about college deans. There are, they have immense power and not proportionate brains often. And so that, and there's a lot of passive aggression because assistant professors can, work on getting their doctorate and then not get tenure and they're cooked. But one of the things was a assistant professor writes a paper on it. An associate professor writes a book on it. A full professor devotes his career to it, and the dean has forgotten the point. Those who can do, those who can't teach, those who can't teach become dean. And yeah, and in the business school at UT, there were 7 floors, one for each department. And in each bathroom, there was one of these blow hand dryers with a push on it. People took name tags with adhesive on it and said, push this button for a short speech from the and finally at Indiana, the business school wasn't designed very well, and the dean's office was out in the main hallway, off the main hallway rather than the dean's suite, which it always is and should be. And also the parking lot was next to the building for the top brass was too small. So it was really hard to park in, and there were signs saying no backing in stalls. So a colleague who was not a very good student and vulnerable went in on the Sunday morning with a rivet gun, and he took one of the signs outside and put it on the inside of the stall door. So he felt so much better. So anyway.
My story about an interaction with the dean, it's a bit of a story, but
okay.
My degree is actually civil engineering, so I took geology for engineers and had all sorts of problems. In fact, including the fact I had 3 kids and a wife who really didn't want to work while I was in college.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was an older student, so that was loading me down. But I got a D in a 4-hour class that was geology for engineers. And I figured I'd better repeat it to get a better grade. And I went ahead and registered for the class. Then a buddy of mine suggested take the class for audit, and then whatever grade you would get, see if you'll change
very good
that up to these. And I went to the dean. He said, sure. I mean, not the dean, but the geology professor. Yeah, I'll be glad to.
Good.
And then I went to see about changing classes. And the registrar thought of it. She said, you'd have to see Dean Stanley. I don't know how to advise you on that.
Whoops.
So I went to get his, because in the engineering college, the drop-in period was earlier than the full university, Cincinnati. So I asked Stanley, he goes, what? I told him what I wanted to do. What? You're just a cheat. What's your name again? Oh, sorry, got to go to class.
Good grief.
And I disappeared out of the room. Well, sure enough, Stanley didn't remember me, but when grades came in, I had to take the class a second time, but then I got a B the second time. The geology professor called me and says, hey, do you want me to change that other grade up? Well, yeah, I'd love it.
Good.
So now I've got geology for engineers twice, and I got a B each time.
Good.
Okay, next thing you know, I'm called into the big dean's office. And Cosgrove, I'm only 5'7". Cosgrove was about 6'3". And he was in his 60s then. I was only about 37, 36, 37. I was 38 when I graduated. So this would have been about 36. But I've been deaf in my left ear all my life. So I know the signs of deafness. And I know how people can do things to make it hard to hear. And Dean Cosgrove called me in. I'm standing like I am to Bill, or I guess I was standing in front of him, and he said, yeah, Mr. Mercer, we see that you had geology for engineers twice. One was a D and the other a B, and now suddenly you've got 2 Bs. Did you ask the professor to change that grade? Oh, crap. So immediately I spun around over to his left side, so I'm standing beside him, and he's holding this piece of paper. And I said, oh, yes, sir. What happened was what happened was so Dr. Nash, and is there a problem? Oh, no, we just didn't understand.
Good.
Because I knew the signs that he was losing his hearing and wouldn't admit it.
Good. If you tell that story again, I have a suggestion for you. I took introductory accounting and got a D, and I took it again, And so I just told everybody I had such fun the first time. I wanted to take it again. Yeah, you just can't beat that introductory accounting.
Well, see, I was on academic probation. I was on the dean's list most way through college, but that was not the good list. Every other quarter, I'd get a letter saying, "Dear student, one more set of grades like this, and you won't be here to get a set of grades." And then pull it up and it'd go down. So getting the B this time, and this was a second quarter on academic probation. So I called the accounting office. She said, "Oh, I've got this whole stack of grades to report." And I said, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I got this dean breathing down my neck." She said, "What's your name, honey?" "Okay, there. I just changed it." And my grade point average came up and I was on probation. Then I got the letter, "Report to Dean Cosgrove's office."
Uh-oh.
I did manage to graduate.
Good.